Still crying the same tears. From Emmett to Nolan, how many more years? Copper blood in these waters, Most High see us here. Peace be still, but the truth gonna appear. Emmett Till, young boy whistling in the store. White lies turned to lynch and dragged him from the door. Beaten, shot river, swallowed him whole. Open casket, mama showed the world his soul. Nolan Wells, 18, boat ride on the 4th. Only black in the circle, now they say he drowned for. Horn Island whispers, friends came back without him. Mississippi history, still hunting, still doubting. Same state, same pain, different name. Black boy lost in the Delta rain. When will it change? Lord, when will it change? Ancestors screaming, we never left this stage. 1955, Chicago boy down south for the summer breeze. Money, Mississippi, wrong place for a black team to breathe. Brian stole maybe a whistle, maybe just a smile. Jim Crow code broken, now they coming in the night. Wild Roy and Malone snatched him from his uncle's floor. Tortured that baby, fanti round, body in the Tallahatchie roar. Mutilated face, mama said let the world see. Acquitted by all white jury, not guilty, set him free. Sparked the movement, Montgomery rose from the flames. But the Delta dirt still holding black boys' names. Emmett was 14, just a child in his prime. Lynched for existing in a twisted mind. Emmett Till, Nolan Wells, Delta shadows ringing bells. Black life cheap in these haunted lands. Most High coming with justice in his hands. 2026 July 4th, independence gone wrong. Broke the Horn Island with the crew, singing freedom songs. 18 years young, big heart, only copper in the mix. Friends white as the judge that let killers walk in. 55 disappeared that day. Body found on the shore 2 nights later. They say drowning, no foul play, but the family know better. Questions swimming deeper than the Gulf water's cold. Why leave your phone? Why the silence from the foe? Mississippi again, history echoing loud. Been crunk, calling for truth, independent, autopsy proud. Was it accident or the past rising from the mud? Black boy with white friends, trust issues in our blood.
Why the same soil claim my sons? Ancestor never left, we still the chosen one.
From Till's open casket to Nolan's unanswered call. In time signs, Leviathan rising, watch the fall. No hate, just black love, we hold each other tight. But stop crashing out on each other and demand what's right.
Peace be still,
Through the storm we prevail,
Father's child.
we shall not fail. Both in Mississippi, Delta's cruel embrace. One lynched open, one body lost without a trace. Emmett's killers bragged after the verdict came. Nolan's story fogged in speculation and shame. 14 or 18, young kings taken too soon. Waters claim the bodies, but the spirit touched the moon. Same fear, same doubt, same racist undercurrent flow. But we wiser now, cameras, voices won't let go. Indigenous copper, mountain builder stand tall. We walk together, ancestors answer the call. No more silent nights, no more cover graves. Justice for Emmett, justice for Nolan. Raise the blade.
Emmett Till, Nolan Wells.
Hell no!
Emmett Till, Nolan
But our spirit never failed. We got black love revolution now. Most High know my heart, make it right somehow.
Peace be still,
Peace be still. From Till to West, the story's still real. Let the world see, let the truth be free. Let the world see, let the world see. Let the truth be free.
All right. Hello, everyone. Grand Rising. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. All right, so let's get ready to get black into it. Hello, Dangerous, Danielle, Truth Brown is here, Desmond, Love Christie, Bronze Flat Power God, Pearly. All right, let's get into it. Terry Hinton, Nessa G, The Crazy Beach Aries, Buckhorse DC, Desmond, Dangerous, Sheila, Nessa G, 57 Beige Fox, Lillian X, Juju, Deborah. All right, Barbara, I see you. Nubia Ra, Miss Aries, Love Christie. Okay, so shout out to all of my Lori Royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, I see you, Robert, Deborah. Okay, let's get into it. G from the land, the Crazy Beach Aries, the infamous Marty Marr, Deronda. Okay, so before we get started, as per usual, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right. So don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Kratz. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. Okay. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay. So now, some people are saying that yesterday's autopsy report left us with more questions than answers. And I have to agree. And we're going to talk some more about that autopsy report because that autopsy, it was very telling. Okay, the conclusions that they arrived at and certain things that were said and not said were very telling. We're going to get into it. But before we do, I'm going to talk about how all of a sudden everyone wants to crawl out of the woodwork and start talking. So we had Warren on the heels of the autopsy report being released. He goes and does an interview with Brandon Tatum. And then Lucas Aviz comes out and talks the Inside Edition. Now, I find that very interesting because Judge Ashley Cole, now, didn't she say, I could have sworn she did, she released that whole statement talking about how they weren't going to say anything and how social media was, dangerous for her children and all of that. Hold on. So why are they coming out talking all of a sudden? I think we all know why. Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son Warren loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some of the rumors with facts based upon the social media attention that has been diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. So pay attention to that first paragraph. She's trying to act as though she's only coming out saying something about these nefarious rumors that are clearly not true, but she's only coming out doing so not to save face or to do damage control for her family or to save their reputation, but in fact, she's saying that they're coming out to do this for Nolan's family because you all talking about them and pointing a finger at them is basically just taking away attention from Nolan and his family where they're going through. That's the picture she wants to paint. Okay. Pretty crafty. Anyway, goes on to say, yes, I deactivated my Facebook given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now. I fear for the safety of my children and my children. I'm sorry, of my child and my children, my husband. My husband and I have 6 children and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety. I graduated from high school with Christine Wells Wansley. We are from the same community. as if that means anything. I have the utmost respect for her and all of the Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. Yet they never took one time, 1 minute out of their day to go and offer up condolences, to go and give them well wishes, to send condolences and say how sorry they are that they have lost Nolan. They didn't bother to do that at all, but you have well wishes. Okay, Nolan was like a brother to Warren and all of that. You grieved with them, please. Okay, just a whole load of BS is what it all is. But these are the things that she was saying. Now, I just find this interesting that now Warren has so much to say. But let's continue. And then she also talks about the safety of her small children. And just like I told you all, she said she took down her Facebook, but she reopened it and she was showing the pictures of those children when she was showing how people had been talking trash to her in her comment sections and how that one person from some account was allegedly sending her threats, which I think were all just made up. Okay, I think that was a fake account and she knows exactly who did it if she didn't do it herself. And I think those messages all came from the same person that she knows exactly who is. Okay, now that's just my opinion. But anyway, goes on to say, my husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on the 4th of July. And who said they did? Who said they did? See, here's what I want you all to think, want you all to pay attention to. When these people stand accused or people are being skeptical of them, they want to come out and try to prove that there's an element of honesty to them. So what they'll do is they'll be honest about things of which no one has accused them. Officer Brandon Tatum did the same thing when he was talking to Warren, her stepson, during that interview. Okay, he did the exact same thing. He kept saying, he said it at least 2 or 3 times. He said, yeah, so there was hundreds of people out there. So it wasn't just you, just 3 or 4 guys out there on the island by yourselves. And Warren was like, no, of course not. Nobody ever said that though. But he said that, Tatum did. He said that to make it seem as though he's getting to the root of it. Like he's debunking something that's been said that absolutely is not true. But nobody ever said that. We all could see from the video footage and from the pictures that were shared from that day that there was hundreds of people out there. No one is stupid. He just thinks that people are. Okay, but let's continue. Like, everyone, please like and share. Now, and said her and her husband were not out there. No one's ever accused them of having been there. Now, no one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers. Now, see, no one said that they were. So why would she say that? You see how a hit dog hollers, because that's exactly what she was trying to do. That's exactly what she was trying to do. Okay, please pay attention. And that's why she needs to be taken off the bench. Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July the 4th. And then around 4:30 when their boat was taken on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Okay, yeah, we know the rest. But here's the thing, though. Yeah, here's the thing, though. Why are they telling all these lies? Because the boat was never towed. Now we see that the boat was never towed. And if the boat was never towed, was the boat ever really taken on water? Because one of them said that they were like up to their waist in water. But if that's the case, why would you be doing all this back and forth traveling? Do you all remember when we first were talking about the boat and how they said it was taken in water and they had to call to get the tow and all of that? I asked you all then, I said, if this is all true, how were they going from this place to that place? You leave here, you go to the dock, then you leave there and you go to another dock, then you go back to the original dock, then you go to Fort Bayou, and then you come back to Fort Bayou at 7:19. How are you doing all of this back and forth? Now, I thought something was sketchy with that story in the beginning, and I brought it up. But so now for us to find out that, in fact, Tow never even towed that boat, so the call was their alibi. That's what that sounded like. Okay, that's what that sounded like. Please pay attention. Now, another thing I want to bring up is also Ashley Coe's other statement. Judge Ashley Cole has released a statement about, or after sharing screenshots and photos. Now, mind you, this was just a few days later. She literally said that her social media needs to be deactivated for the safety of her children, these threats, and all of the nefariousness. Now, this was around July the 6th. I want to say it was the 6th or the 7th. Because remember, they deactivated their things around the 5th, okay, before Nolan's body was even discovered. And then people started getting suspicious and talking trash. And then that's when she felt the need to come out. It was around the 6th or the 7th. But here, posted on the 11th, just a few days later. Wow, would you look at here? Here's what it says. Judge Ashley Cole has released a statement after sharing screenshots and photos that she says show alleged bomb threats. Now, mind you, these things were sent to her because I showed you all the receipts that she posted. These things were sent to her through her social media, Facebook account, through Messenger, right? Okay, this was all sent through Messenger. So how did they send her stuff if it was deactivated? I just have questions, but let me continue. According to Cole, some of the messages were even aimed at her young children. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped some. Hold on. Okay, so Judge Ashley Cole has released a statement after sharing screenshots and photos. She says showed alleged bomb threats, racial slurs, and degrading messages directed at her and her family following the death of Nolan Wells. So people called her racial slurs. I find that interesting, don't you? But anyway, according to Cole, some of the messages were even aimed at her young children. In the statement, Cole said that she and her family will not be speaking publicly about the case. Well, I guess Warren forgot all about that or missed the memo. Okay, we have decided that we will not be speaking to the press at this time. She also wrote, the media is not the appropriate forum to further elaborate on the facts of July the 4th of 2026. She then added, we realize that the truth will not stop the calls for the death of our small children. So people wanted to kill her small children, according to her. But Warren's out here drawing more attention to the family, out here doing whole interviews. Please make that all make sense. But not only Warren, like I said, now Lucas Aviz has joined into it. So with that being said, let's go to a couple of these clips. Everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Stayed away from speaking on this for a multitude of reasons. One, because it's not my business to share, and I'm only sharing this because the family has now made it public and has asked me to speak on it since I'm so close to the family.
Now, let me just say, this man is friends with someone who had something nefarious happen to them by their friends that don't look like them. But let's continue.
Because I have support on my social media. Last Monday, I got a call from one of my closest friends. I've known her since I was a child. I've known this family since I was a child. And I didn't expect to know or hear. I didn't expect her to say what she said on the phone call. She called me at 3 o'clock in the morning 3 times. I missed all 3 calls because I was asleep, but around 8:30 that day, I saw I missed those calls, so naturally I called. And now somebody calling you at 3 o'clock in the morning is already alarming, so naturally I am unsure and uneasy, unsettled with why my friend has called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I get her on the phone and she's quiet. She's really quiet. I'm like, what's going on? I'm not sure if she's done something to herself or was considering doing something to herself, or maybe just going through a heartbreak, which was what I was hoping. But no, that was not what she was going through. And she opened up her mouth and said, my brother. So what about your brother? My brother's in the hospital. Why is your brother in the hospital? I asked. And I wasn't prepared for what she said, because what she said was, my brother's in the hospital because he had his throat. At that moment, it was being ruled as a attempt of suicide. And I'm gonna fast forward because I don't have a lot of time to explain on this phone, under 3 minutes, so it can get the most views as it can. But when I got to the hospital on Monday, Petoskey, whatever the hell, Michigan, and I saw him, I saw 2 wounds across his neck. And I don't know about you, but I don't know someone who can do it once, let alone twice. And as I stood above him, looking at him, holding him, in that moment, it was the first time I ever met someone who I knew someone tried to remove from this world. And I'm learning that the police and the media are trying to rule it as an attempt of suicide. And I promise you this, I don't know why it's become a weird habit when Black people, Black men are being isolated in white environments, and how somehow their life is almost taken from them or is taken from them. But right now, this person, my friend, is sitting in the hospital fighting for his life because someone tried to take it from him. And they're trying to sweep it under the rug. And I don't know who did this. I have my suspicions. But I don't know who did this and why they did it. But I do know that man was never suicidal. That man was accomplished. That man was well-versed. That man was well-loved. That man was needed, wanted, progressively becoming a better person each day. And if you knew him, you knew that Angelon Hardman is a blessing. And so my ask is for you to just repost it. My ask is for you to use the information under this video to blow up that police station, to get word out that there's another young black boy who didn't deserve this, but for whatever reason is going through this, and he needs your help, just like he needs mine.
Now, as you all heard, that is very sad, okay? And saying that the police are trying to sweep it under the rug. Here's the thing. We hear about Nolan's story, Carmelo Anthony's and these stories, Daniel Irving, but there are so many stories that we don't even hear about. Look at the story that Eric Brian Stone just brought out the other day about his black friend and what happened to him. They literally tried to cut the man's head off. Okay, that's not in the news. That is not even reported in the news anywhere, and neither is this story. They sweep these things under the rug very often, but let's continue. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to shout out to Bingo, his mom, and his sister. Little Nolan, that's how I got to come to know Nolan. People have asked me, I've seen in the comments, what's my connection? I was Nolan's first barber. I gave him his first haircut. And I'm very close to the people that, I guess they call him his nanny, and I know his parents. We are from the same area. Yes, the same city, town, whatever you want to call it. I'm good friends with his cousin. Me and his cousin went to barber school together. We sat side by side at the funeral yesterday. Me and his other cousin get up and hang out, go eat all the time. So, but like I said, man, Bingo's mom, she would take care of Nolan. She brought him to the barbershop, got his first haircut. That boy was her son. That was like her baby, Christy was out becoming a nurse. She was in school, so she was taking care of him. And Christy come try to pick him up. She said, I got him, keep doing your studies. She was babysitting as much as she could. She really loved that boy. And I was just wondering when I was sitting behind her, I sat behind her yesterday, and Bingo and his sister, and I was just wondering, how she was feeling, how she felt about things, to know that was somebody, even though it wasn't her child, but she was the nanny, the babysitter. She nursed him. She changed his diaper 100 times, She was there when he was sick, And I know that woman got to be hurting, man, So it's not just the immediate family that needs prayer. It's everybody, man. Everybody in South Mississippi. We can say all over the world for that matter. But, right here, we have to try to keep the peace, man. These people grew up with each other, black and white people, man. Let's stop this.
Meanwhile, one of the last people to see...
Now I want you to pay attention. Y'all heard that, right? Pay attention to something that he said that really caught my attention. Okay, he said these people grew up together. He said we have to keep the peace. Man, y'all stop this. Now that's very significant. He said we have to keep the peace. So what he said is we're some good Negroes down here. Don't make any trouble for us. We got to keep the peace. We got to live here. And that's what I've been telling you all. It was the same thing with Carmelo Anthony down there in Frisco and those little small towns. That's how it goes. Everybody knows everybody. And if you don't go along to get along, then you're going to be in trouble or you're going to have a problem. That's basically what he was saying. But let's continue. Now, this is Lucas. All of a sudden, he's coming out the woodwork. And I want you to pay attention because the new narrative now is that Nolan was drunk. That's what both he and Warren are saying.
Nolan Wells alive is speaking out to Inside Edition today. 18-year-old Nolan vanished during 4th of July celebrations on an island off the coast of Mississippi. His body washed up 2 days later.
There were so many people. I mean, boats, they were like on top of each other almost, like, I mean, it was intense.
Lucas Aviz is a college classmate of Nolan at Southwest Mississippi Community College. He says he went to Horn Island with his family and friends on a different boat and ran into Nolan there.
I'd say he's pretty hammered. He would slur his words. His movement was slow.
Nolan and 3 friends had arrived on Horn Island at around 11 a.m. According to authorities, the friends say they left around 4:30 p.m., but they say Nolan told them that he was staying behind. According to reports, he had met a young lady and wanted to hang out with her. Lucas says he was devastated when he heard later that night that his friend was missing.
He may have been taken by the current, and I'm guessing he drowned. There's a certain part of the island where the current is pretty strong.
Inside Edition cameras returned to Horn Island. It's an uninhabited barrier island in the Gulf and a favorite destination for teens who want to party. There are also dangerous currents. This video shows how crowded the island was that day. No matter how it came about, nothing can take away the pain of Nolan's family or the tragedy of a young man who died too soon.
Now, I want you all to pay attention to the words that he used, okay? He used keywords, hammered, to imply that he was highly inebriated. And then he said his words were slurred, as though he could barely talk. Incoherently, he was speaking, okay? And then he says he was moving slow. Now, think about that. That's about as drunk as you can get, right? Without passing out. So you mean to tell me that he was so hammered, he was slurring his words and could barely walk, and he was walking slow, and his speech was almost incomprehensible? That's what you're telling me. So if that were the case, why would you leave him there? Why wouldn't anyone try to see about him? Because here's the thing. If a person is in that sort of shape and they're out near a large body of water such as that, well, I would be afraid that they might stumble into the water and drown. So I would be more likely to keep an eye on them, to be watchful and mindful of them and their movements and, in fact, what they're doing. But what I wouldn't do is leave them on an island. I don't care if they requested to be left there and said, oh, I'm going to be talking to so-and-so. Okay, that's not going to happen because you're in no shape to even be in, you're not even in your right mind. So that's just not going to happen. So at the end of the day, I don't believe him. He's painting the narrative clearly. And then also, please always be mindful, beloveds, of when someone is coming up with, scenarios that really are not founded in or based or founded in anything significant. Like if it's something someone just made up out of the blue and they're just throwing it out there, always be mindful of that. Because see, when people do that, they're just trying to tell you which way to think or how to think or which direction to put your energy in. It's like when I told you all how that guy, one of the witnesses, supposedly reached out to Secret Service Sam and then was telling Sam, oh, you should be looking at this right here. You might want to turn your investigation, into this way. Look over here at Javon. Remember that? Trying to get the eyes on Javon and Tristan. So that's what you have to be careful of. Whenever there's someone accused of something or someone who may possibly have been involved in some type of crime or cover-up, conspiracy or what have you, when they're trying to dictate where you should be thinking, where your mind and focus should be directed at, always pay attention because they're clearly up to something. They're trying to create and paint and control the narrative. Okay, let's continue.
Girls, everybody's drinking, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students, out on the island, women.
Now listen to how silly Brandon sounds. This is a grown arts man, middle-aged man. Now he's sitting here saying, just like anyone would be expecting 18-year-olds. I'm sorry, sir. Maybe it's just me, but I would never be expecting 18-year-olds to be drinking and laid out with women. Okay? That's what I wouldn't expect. Is he serious? So he obviously doesn't seem to think it's a problem for underage drinking. Okay, and I wonder who supplied the liquor. And here's the thing: Warren, as he sat here, he literally just committed or just admitted to a whole crime. Okay, that's what he did. He said everybody was, so that would include him. So he literally just admitted to underage drinking. Okay, yeah, let them keep coming out doing interviews and keep running their mouths. What else might they slip up and admit to? Okay, what else? Because he darn sure just admitted to that.
And you probably had alcohol, so y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well,
now watch this. Watch this. He says, Tatum asked him, now where is Nolan at in comparison to where you all are? And I want you to listen to his answer. Okay, the lounge says, Queen, who provided Nolan with alcohol? I wonder. They should be charged. Well, here's the thing. They are going to be, if they're not charged, beloved, they're going to be sued in that wrongful lawsuit that Nolan's parents are going to file. And how do we know they're going to file it? Because that's why his mom filed for that petition to open up his estate so she can take over for any future legal matters. They're going to sue somebody because one way or another, somebody's going to pay. Because here's the sad part. Nolan just may not get justice because these devils have worked together, and this little scheme they have going is almost ironclad tight. Quite frankly, we're going to get into that in a minute, and I'll explain you all the details. But thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to Nolan, and
Now, mind you, let me just reiterate. Tatum just asked him, as a matter of fact, I'm going to rewind it back. So pay attention to how when Tatum asked him, where was Nolan in relation to you all? He doesn't directly answer that question. He instead starts rambling on. Just listen.
Students
right.
out on the island,
right.
Women, you probably had alcohol, so y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to Nolan, and Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody, and I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him.
On a different boat and ran into Nolan there.
I'd say he's pretty hammered. He would slur his words. His movement was slow.
And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan and my buddy James, Nolan, and I mean, I could tell you, I mean, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. I mean, there was hundreds of people I knew out there. So as everybody's drinking.
Sheriff, can I ask you a quick?
Now, this is a clip where this black reporter confronts Sheriff Ledbetter, just trying to ask him about updates on the case. And please pay attention to how annoyed he clearly is. I mean, he looks so perturbed. Just pay attention.
Question really quickly. Can I ask you a question? I'm trying to tell with WDSU in New Orleans. I actually came up here 2 weeks ago to meet with you, but I think y'all were in and out of meetings about the Wells case, and then they told me eventually you just weren't able to come out. So that was like July 8th. So I'm back now. Wondering if you guys will be releasing any more details concerning the case. The last thing I saw on your social media was on July 8th, the same day. So any extra details, because we did just get the independent autopsy results today. Anything that you can give us?
Not at this time.
Okay. Can I confirm that y'all are working with the FBI with the case?
Yes.
Okay. Any other agencies that you're working with at this time? All right. And is this case still under investigation?
It is actively under investigation.
Okay. So I was told by the district attorney everything is going through her office at this time.
And everything else should be referenced to the district attorney's office.
Okay. So y'all are no longer answering questions about the case?
Yeah. I know you're recording, trying to get some edited footage, but
no, I'm just asking. I'm just confirming.
That's all we're saying. We're actively investigating the case.
And everything else go to the district attorney.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know.
As far as your media, your
Right. So pretty much it wouldn't be anything like, pretty much don't contact your office to be like, hey, do y'all have any details? Everything goes through her. Is that what you're saying? Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you. Name? My name is Chantel. We're from New Orleans, WDSU okay. News.
Hey, I'm Doug. Doug. Doug.
Okay. Yeah.
It's still actively being investigated. So.
Okay. We just heard that this morning. Again, this was from the press conference this morning. When mom said that y'all were saying there was no foul play in the beginning, but now this, has anything changed since then at all, or?
Like I said, we're actively investigating the case. It's still an active, ongoing investigation.
Okay, and to confirm, last question. To confirm, the state medical examiner did not release their report right at this time.
If I were you, I'd check with the district attorney's office too. As far as I know, and you don't have to publish that. That's going through the district attorney's office. That's not. We don't do that. It's state medical examiner.
Thank you. Witnesses have helped you?
Yes, sir.
You've talked to witnesses over the last few weeks?
Okay, so you all saw how he was looking at her. He clearly did not want to be bothered, okay? And an arrest should already have been made. Like I said, that boat should have been brought in and all of that. But hold on. We're going to get to why all of these different things are going on. Now, let's talk about the coroner. Okay, the coroner, Bruce Lynn Jr. Like stuff, everyone, please like and share. Hold on, give me just a second. I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, that's right. Excuse me, that's right, Bronze Flat Power God. The good old boys. Absolutely. They have those good old boy networks just like they do down there in Frisco, Texas. And this is why it's so difficult for Black people in those places to get any sort of justice. Like I said, I don't understand how Black people still live there, honey, because it couldn't be me. Okay, so Bruce Lynn Jr., Jackson County coroner. Let's get into it. Okay, so he's a lifelong resident of Jackson County, Mississippi. He attended Moss Point schools until he transferred to Heritage Christian Academy in Forts Lake when he graduated in 2008. Now, he began working as a funeral assistant for Heritage Funeral Home and Moss Point in the spring of his senior year of high school and continued while completing general studies at the University of South Alabama. Bruce then enrolled in the Funeral Service Technologies program at East Mississippi Community College. During his studies of mortuary science, Bruce served as secretary for the Mu chapter of Sigma Phi Sigma, the National Funeral Services Fraternity. He was also awarded the Gail M. Galloway Student of the Year Award in 2011 by the Mississippi Funeral Directors Association and received the Restorative Art Award from Academic Excellence and Professional Development from EMCC in Mortuary Arts and Sciences. Now, while enrolled at EMCC, Bruce registered with the Mississippi State Board of Funeral Services. Okay, I'm going to skip past all this rigmarole. Bottom line is this. This is what I'm getting at here. So I find it interesting that it says all of this that he did, went to death investigation training school, sudden unidentified infant death investigations. It talks about all of this from beginning to end. It even talks about his wife and all of that, the Young Men's Business Club and everything. It pretty much just lays out his credentials and everything that he has done, and which I find it all very interesting, because the one thing that they don't say about him is that, in fact, he used to be a police officer. Okay, he used to be a police officer, and I find that to be significant. And the reason I find that to be so significant is because at the end of the day, we know that police officers, not all, but some, are absolutely corrupt and nefarious and are involved in cover-ups sometimes. Okay, and the fact that this man is down there in Mississippi, where we know that it has been corrupt for decades, not just Ocean Springs, but the entire state. So the fact that he used to be a police officer is very telling. And how you know it's very telling is by the fact that he didn't even bother to add that along with the rest of his credentials. Okay, and I'm sure there's a very significant reason for that. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about that autopsy report and what it did and didn't say. Let's get into it. Like, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Because here's the thing. Hold on, why is it telling me page not found? Now, here's the thing, beloveds. So we know that the autopsy report said that the throat was missing. Okay? The throat was missing. All right? The organs were missing. Even the lungs were missing. Now, this was all on purpose. And how do we know this was all on purpose? Because here's the thing. Now, it's very normal. You know, I'm going to say that it's normal for a medical examiner to remove certain parts, to remove certain tissue, to remove certain organs, and to even keep them because they're going to be doing further studies. So let me just say this. You all remember, right? I'm going to let you hear what a pathologist says in just a moment. But here's the thing. You all remember when Sheriff Ledbetter came out so quickly and said, doesn't seem to be any evidence of foul play. It looks like an accidental drowning, right? Y'all remember he said that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember him saying that. I got to make sure you all are paying attention. Put a 1 in the chat if you all remember Sheriff Ledbetter saying that there was no evidence of foul play and that it appeared to simply be an accidental drowning. I'm going to tell you that that is an absolute lie. Okay, he didn't think it was an accidental drowning. He knew that it in fact wasn't a drowning likely, or he figured or thought or suspected that it was not a drowning, in my opinion. But what he didn't think, please pay attention, he didn't think it was no darn accidental drowning. He didn't think that there was no evidence of foul play because he didn't look for any evidence. And how you know, and I'm about to prove to you that down there in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, and just remember you heard it here first. Down there in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, they absolutely know that Nolan Wells was murdered. They know he was murdered. Okay, that's what they know. That's what they know. And I'm about to prove to you how I know that that's what they know. Let's talk about it. They know he was murdered just as well as we know he was murdered. And how do we know he was murdered? Well, we know now because after that autopsy report came out. Now, mind you, the autopsy report did leave us with a myriad of questions, but also it was very telling at the same time. Okay? So let's talk about it. You see, the thing is this. When Ben Crump got up there and said, oh, you guys, remind me to show you the clip of Nancy Grace when she tried to go in on Secret Service Sam. I said, no, she didn't. But here's the thing. But Sam did a good job. But here's the thing. So when Ben Crump was up there reading the reports of the autopsy, and then he started explaining how the parts of the throat were missing, right? And how the brain, the brain was missing, and there was seemed to be some sort of trauma or red discoloration and all of that. Let me tell you something. And then said that the other medical examiner kept those things. Now, here's the thing with that. As I told you, it's normal for a medical examiner to keep certain things, tissues, different parts of organs and organs or whatever for further studies. But why would you be doing further studies? Please pay attention. If you think that this was just an accidental drowning, if you think that there's no reason and no evidence of foul play, if you think that nothing nefarious happened to this person, why would you need to do further testing? Why would you need to do further testing? You kept the stomach and the lungs. Remember, I told you all when I was reading to you about aquatic decomposition, I told you all that the stomach sometimes also will have water in it from someone drowning. You took out the throat, you took out the lungs, you took out the stomach, you took out the brain. There is no airway for the next medical examiner, the pathologist, to check and see if it in fact was drowning. They had no way to determine whether or not he drowned. But that's okay, because guess what? He didn't drown. Because had he simply drowned, they wouldn't have had to keep those organs, his throat, his lungs, and all of that for further testing. You only need it for further testing when you think that there is a homicide, when you think that there is some evidence or some reason to suspect there was foul play. So let's get into it, because that's what I was thinking. So of course I did my research. And of course, someone said they gutted that man. Greta said fully clothed. Remember that. Well, here's the thing. Now they're saying that he wasn't fully clothed, that it was a mistake, that he wasn't wearing a shirt, that he simply just had on the trunks. But you know what else? Here's the thing that I thought about. Where was Nolan's shoes? Where was Nolan's shoes? Now, everybody could have been on that island without any shoes on. Please pay attention. Everybody could have been on that island, and they may not have wanted to wear shoes because there's sand out there, they're in the water, whatever. They could have left their shoes on the boat. But if you're not going to ride back on the same boat you came on, and you're going to catch a ride with somebody else, and then you have to go and get your car and all of your belongings so you can drive on home, you're going to need your shoes. Where the hell was Nolan's shoes? Didn't Nolan take a backpack or something out there with his items in it? Isn't that what people usually do when they go to the beach or to an island? Don't you have something with you that would have items that you need? Maybe your sunglasses, okay? Maybe a pair of swim shoes, or maybe the shoes or the clothes that you wore or that you're going to put on after. There was no backpack. There was no other items. Where were his shoes? Even if he didn't have a backpack, you mean to tell me he didn't have shoes on that boat? He was planning on walking after they got from the island, after they left there. He was going to walk barefoot to go get his car from whoever's house it was at, Evans or Wyatt's. That's what he was going to do. He was going to drive home barefoot. Where was his stuff? He left all of his shoes and clothes at the house where he spent the night before, so he didn't bring a pair with him. Where are the man's shoes? I have several questions, but hold on. Hold on. Now let's talk about this, because as I told you all, they think, or they had to have known, that there was murder in the midst and there was nothing accidental. They had to know that this had to be some sort of foul play, because here's the thing. Check this out. Check this out. The likelihood of foul play is exactly why. Hold on. I need to send this to my email so you all can see it. So you all don't think I'm just saying stuff. Hold on. Because, and as a matter of fact, I definitely need to send to my email, because that's why I looked it up. Because you all may not just believe me. Some of you that don't know me and don't know that I always bring the receipts, you might just not believe me, okay, if I'm just saying stuff. So I always like to pull it up so y'all can see that I'm not making this up. Like some, everyone, please like and share. Okay? Hold on. Let me go to a couple of these comments. Truth Brown says, wondered that they unalived him at the grandparents' home, and the grandparents are deceased, so nobody was there. Plus, the GPS placed them there twice. That's a good question. It's a good question. Okay, now let's get ready to get into it. Let's get into it. Lights up, everyone. Please like and share. Now, here's how y'all know that they thought clearly something nefarious happened. Okay? Let me just show y'all this. Lights up, everyone. Please don't forget to like and share. Thank you in advance. We also have another drowning. If you all see these two young men on the screen, yeah, the white one drowned the other one. We're going to talk about it. Okay, so now listen, here's what I typed in. Okay, it says, yes, it is a standard practice for a forensic pathologist to retain parts of the throat and neck during an autopsy. Now, listen to this. Retaining structures like the hyoid bone, thyroid cartilage, and surrounding soft tissue allows examiners to conduct microscopic analysis, x-rays, or deeper dissections to confirm neck compression. Okay, did you hear that? To confirm neck compression. What is neck compression? Pay attention. Forensic examiners look for very small, subtle fractures in the windpipe or hyoid bone, as well as deep tissue hemorrhaging, which can be easily missed during an initial inspection. By keeping these anatomical structures, they can document and preserve crucial evidence for the official investigation. Okay, so now why would they be doing any of that? Why would they be doing that? Anyone want to venture to guess? Anyone want to venture to guess? Because here's the thing. It said they would do this, and it's normal for them to do this when they're looking and checking for what? When they're checking or trying to confirm neck compression. Now, why would they be trying to confirm neck compressions? Oh, that's right, because they think someone may have been strangled, either manually or with ligatures, with a ligature, okay, or hung. Either way, they think that there was compressions to the neck. So that being said, if they think there were compressions to the neck, then that lets us know that they absolutely think that there was foul play and that it wasn't an accidental drowning. But hold on, there's more. So here's the next thing I typed in just for you all's entertainment, because I already know this stuff. I went to school for it, but hold on. I want y'all to pay attention. These people think they are so slick. So next, here's the next thing. The likelihood, yes, the likelihood of foul play is exactly why, because this is what I asked. Okay, I typed this in for you all's benefit. I said, so when they're trying to keep, I basically said something like, when they're keeping certain parts of the throat, okay, this is because they think that there was foul play. I said something like that. So it says, yes, the likelihood of foul play is exactly why these structures are retained. Neck compression, such as manual strangulation, ligature strangulation, or positional asphyxiation, okay, is almost always viewed as a potential homicide until otherwise proven. Medical examiners retain these tissues specifically for the following reasons. And the first one is homicide investigations. If a case goes to trial, the defense or prosecution may request an independent review of the physical evidence. Do y'all see that? So they absolutely know it wasn't no darn accident, okay? So they can quit playing in our faces, okay? And the haters can quit hating and acting like we're all just playing the race hustle game and that we're all just making up stuff. I want you all to pay attention, because this is exactly what I told you all on yesterday. Okay, this is exactly what I told you all on yesterday. That the fact that something was wrong with the hyoid bone, that it was fractured or broken, that is a telltale sign of someone having been strangled, whether they did it manually or with a ligature, or someone was hung. That's what I told you all. Okay, and positional asphyxiation. Think about that. That's basically what happened to George Floyd. Okay, if you want to know what that is, positional asphyxiation, that could have been the cause as well when you have a fractured or broken hyoid bone. Because think about what George Floyd, how the knee was on his neck for all that time. Okay, and that's one of the things that happened to him. So I want you all to pay attention. Okay, I want you all to pay attention. I see this is why you have to go back and keep looking at the evidence. Okay, and that's what I want to do here. I don't want to keep going along with conspiracy theories or whatever, or somebody saying it's this person, that person. I just want to follow the evidence and the receipts and draw our conclusions from there. Because all these different stories coming up, one minute they think it's Javon, the next minute they think it's Warren, the next minute it's this person, the next minute it's Katie and her dad. Like, that's all just so crazy, okay? And you start to look foolish at some point. Just like everybody got all hyped up about that fake Rs picture and the lies about that party. Okay, So anyway, with that all being said, there was another drowning. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. But before we do, I want to go to what this pathologist said. I'm going to pull this up. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. And then also, I want you all to hear how this young Black man claims that he encountered a police officer.
Board certified friend.
He claims that he encountered a police officer who told him that he used to hunt people. Okay, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it because this is something that we've talked about before, specifically that happens down there in Mississippi. It's what happened to Rasheem Carter, and it's also what happened to the young man who never made the news, but I reported his story. If you all remember, Tyrekus Atkins. Same thing happened to him, but he survived and escaped. And it actually happened to him before Rasheem Carter, all down there in Mississippi. Okay, let's continue.
As a pathologist. And I just watched the Nolan Wells press conference. And I wanted to share some context for everyone. Being able to definitively state the cause of death after a body has not been found for several days and has been subsequently autopsied twice with signs of decomposition is incredibly, incredibly unlikely. Drowning is what's called a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that when you've got a fresh body, you want to be able to look at the body and see if there's any other causes of death for that body that is found in water that exclude the death being exclusively a drowning. So for example, if someone is shot and then thrown in the water, you'll have that gunshot and they'll be bleeding and the gunshot will be the cause of death, and the thrown in the water is not the cause of death. It's not even on the death certificate. If a person is strangled and they die from strangulation and then their dead body is thrown in the water, their body will take on water, but the cause of death is going to be strangulation, not drowning. Also for any kind of traumatic injuries. Now we got to talk about natural death for a second. If someone has a heart attack while they are swimming, and because they're having the heart attack as they're exercising in the water and they take on water and they drown, the cause of death is actually drowning, and the heart attack is listed on the death certificate under other significant conditions contributing to death. So even though the heart attack might have killed them on dry land, it might not have. Most certainly they wouldn't have drowned on dry land. So we defer to the hostile environment, which is the water, to call it a drowning. Now, identifying natural disease and identifying trauma is relatively easy in a fresh body. It can be very difficult in a decomposed body. His body was found 2 days after he disappeared, and this second autopsy done by Dr. Roger Mitchell wasn't until 4 days later. So we're dealing with quite a bit of decomposition, even if the body was refrigerated during that time. And then we have this other issue of the fact that not all the results are back. The toxicology would have been done on the fluids from the body from the first autopsy. From the second autopsy, you're going to have a lot higher alcohol levels from the decomposition caused by bacteria, not caused by drinking. So again, it's the fluid and blood from the first autopsy that really matter. And the other thing you have to consider, and there's one other important piece of information from that press conference, which is that the neck block, the portion of the neck from the front end, was missing. So Dr. Mitchell did not have a chance to examine that part of Nolan Wells' anatomy. Why is that important? Because if somebody is strangled, especially manual strangulation, the injuries are going to be to the front of the neck. There may be some redness at the back of the neck as well if, injury comes from behind, but generally this part of the neck doesn't have the major blood vessels and the airway. It's the front of the neck that does. So compression or damage to the front of the airway, that's going to be found in the neck block that is still sitting at the medical examiner's office that was not released with the body. So you may ask, is this common practice for pathologists to keep a portion of the anatomy with them at the medical examiner's office and not release it to the family? And the answer is yes. We will sometimes retain important specimens that have pathology in a jar under formaldehyde at the medical examiner's office for further examination or as evidence. And the absence of that neck block is really important because We still don't have information from the first autopsy. That has not been released yet. So we don't know if it was kept out of an abundance of caution, meaning that it didn't have any findings and it was negative, or it was kept because it has findings, because there's a broken hyoid bone, or because there's hemorrhage in the strap muscles. Until we get that first autopsy report, we don't know why it's been retained. So why should anybody do a second autopsy? A second autopsy is often done in cases where there is a high-profile case such as this, or there is concern from the family for foul play, and they're just not getting answers from the medical examiner's office because the medical examiner's office is still doing their investigation and is keeping things under wraps, because if there is foul play, they have the evidence, they have the physical evidence that might be able to trap the killer, and they don't want to release that to the public. Even if there is no evidence of foul play, just the lack of evidence is evidence and is important information that might affect how people are interrogated, whether they're going to tell the truth or not the truth about what happened to him. You have to understand that the medical examiner's autopsy is legally mandated, and it is ultimately the most independent autopsy because it's not beholden to the family, it's not beholden to the prosecutor, to the police, to anybody else. It's an independent agency. So that is an independent autopsy, but it takes time. And it takes time until we get all the information back, including the toxicology report. And to answer the question, if somebody's intoxicated and they drown as a result of their intoxication, meaning that they're just, too intoxicated to be able to swim adequately, the cause of death would still be a drowning, but the intoxication would be considered a significant contributing condition. But because of what I said about alcohol forming from bacteria after death, if the body is decomposed, you have to subtract some of that alcohol because it may have been caused by bacteria and may not have been a sign of intoxication. And you can have up to 0.20 gram percent. So 0.08 is above the legal limit in most states for driving, but you can get up to 0.20 in a massively decomposed body. So it really throws you off when you have decomposition and alcohol to try to figure out whether there was alcohol on board or whether all of it's just been made by bacteria. So I hope this answers some questions about what I saw in the press conference, what other people saw as well. I will go through the autopsy, or at least the report that's been released, with a fine-tooth comb, but this is just my first impressions based on watching the press report. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll see if I can answer them.
All right, so there you have it from a pathologist. Okay, and so please pay attention. So with that all being said, listen, they kept that throat. Okay, now here's the thing. They kept that throat because they know, I believe that they know exactly how Nolan died, okay? And I think that Nolan died by strangulation. I think that Nolan was hit in the back of his head and then he was strangled. Okay, I think he was manually strangled. And here's the thing, they know it too, in my opinion, and that's why they kept the throat. Okay, that's why they kept the front of the throat, because that would hide the evidence. They wouldn't be able to draw any conclusions without that. They also kept the lungs. Why would you keep the lungs? So they could see whether or not if he's drowned. They kept the stomach, all of these things. This is a whole cover up. And here's the thing, even if the first medical examiner, Stacy Spencer, even if she wanted to continue and do further studies on the body parts and the tissue samples and whatnot, she still could have had the decency to give the next pathologist her notes, to let him know why she was keeping those items, what her suspicions were, or what her mind process was, what she was thinking about what she's already tested thus far. And also, she could have let him know that she was sending the body without the throat and the organs. Now, he may have expected that some of the organs would not be there. I think that would be something they would commonly suspect, perhaps. But she definitely should have let him know that she wasn't going to send the lungs or the throat. Okay, like it's like didn't even try to help. And if you're somebody who wants justice to prevail and you want to get to the truth, you would absolutely not have a problem with helping the other person who's going to do the next autopsy. Okay, so with that all being said, this is a whole cover up. This is what they're doing. They purposely didn't send those lungs down there. They did not send that throat, okay, because that would have been a telltale sign, and they know it. So now with that all being said, let's go to this video of this guy saying, well, no, we'll save that for last. Let's actually go to Nancy Grace when she had Secret Service Sam on there. I find it all interesting. Okay, here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. We put an overlay on this so I don't have any copyright issues.
They read ruling it a high.
The neck, at the lower part of the head. I want to know what happened up here. I want to know, was the hyoid bone, which is very fragile, it's not attached to anything, it's kind of floating there. And often in ligature manual, any type of strangulation or stopping your airflow, you'll see that very delicate bone fractured. It's gone. Where is it? Everybody's got one. So where is it? Also, Crump stated that the portion of the neck, the interior portion of the neck that will correspond with the hemorrhaging in the back is missing. There are two ways to look at this. One is that it's missing because it's been hidden. It's being withheld from the second doctor. Why? The other way to look at it is what you suggested, Kendall Crowns, and that is that I've seen this done. The way that medical examiners and medical related forensic anthropologists do it, they get a tiny cut of that tissue. They put that under a microscope and they look to see if cells have bruising. It's very painstaking. Could they be doing that? I don't know. But it seems to me they would have included that in their notations that these portions of Nolan's body had been withheld for further testing, but we didn't hear anything about that. Straight out to Sam Crouppen joining us, investigative journalist and star of Samson's World. Sam, did you hear anything about water in the lungs?
No, Nancy, I've heard nothing about water in the lungs. And honestly, I've just been sitting here infuriated that everybody is putting so much pressure on this second autopsy that thankfully Colin Kaepernick paid for. But why are we not putting pressure on Sheriff John Ledbetter? Where is the first autopsy? Why have they held it out? There is a video of two nurses who claim to have seen the transport of this body, and they said he was face down. So it's honestly, for me, it's just disgusting to see the lack of understanding, people commenting on how Ben Crump is reading, people saying Ben Crump is a race hustler. Like, he's the person who's responsible for justice for Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed by three racist people, and it was covered up. Stacey Turner, the medical examiner, is well known for the death of Trey Reed, ruling it a homicide. She is known for ruling black deaths. She is known. Stacey Turner.
Do I look like a witch stirring a cauldron tonight? I don't really see myself that way. Do not stir the pot, Crouppen, because this is not about politics. This is not what somebody did a long time ago in another case. This is about what we are learning tonight. Yes, and my question is, where's the original autopsy? My guess is that they are waiting on the results that Dr. Kendall Crowns just talked about and more. Hey, simmer down. I want to get to the
She did go in on poor little Sam. Sam was on a roll, honey. Okay. Did y'all hear it? I meant to call Sam last night and ask him what he was thinking when she went in, because I was so not expecting. But let me tell you all something. Okay, D Major said, in other words, stay on topic, Sam. Hell, he was on topic as far as I'm concerned, honey. I thought Sam was, honey, on a roll. What are you saying? Here's the thing, though. I think that she got a little bit out of shape when Sam brought race into it because he said they're sitting up here calling Ben Crump a race hustler, and then the medical examiner, they're saying this. Danielle said, Queen, I would like to see you debate Nancy Grace. Okay, that'll be a good one. I was so done. Sam was on a roll. Okay, I don't care what she says. Let's continue. A couple of more minutes of this.
The facts of this case. I want to go back to Brian Trasher on that. Heather, I'm going to get to you in just one moment regarding the tracking of the phone and the Snapchat and all the digital.
And then she said, do I look like a witch stirring a cauldron? The answer is yes. Yes, in fact, you do look like a witch. Isn't that what I always tell you all she looks like? She literally reminds me of the Wicked Witch of the West, okay? Now, I'm going to go past this guy from the Cajun Navy. We've heard from him. I want to hear what this lady says about the phone records. Hold on, I'm going to skirt past him, too. Okay, here she is.
This records conversations better than.
Barnhart is with us, digital forensics expert with Celebrite and the SANS Institute, one of the digital forensic investigators in the Kohberger case that cracked that wide open. She is co-author of Practical Mobile Forensics in its 4th edition, which means a lot of people are using it to teach and reading it. Her blog, smarterforensics.com. I could go on. Heather Barnhart, thank you for being with us tonight. Number one, can you look at a phone and determine if items were deleted?
Absolutely. And Nancy, here's a huge thing to think about. I assume his phone had a password. There are certain things that you need the password to do, such as delete activity. But if you don't have a password and you pick up your phone, if you're touching the screen, that leaves a trace. If you're trying to power it off, that leaves a trace. So we should be able to see people without a password trying to actively interact with that phone as well as someone that has it.
So how can you look at a phone, Heather Barnhart, and determine the difference between no photos were taken that day? Also, can you take photos even if you don't have reception? I think you can, but I'm not an expert. How can you look at a phone and determine no photos were taken that day as opposed to items were deleted? Because can't you delete from the deleted file?
Yes, you can do everything you just talked about. But again, all of that leaves a trace. So we would do a forensic acquisition, and that's really important here. Someone just looking in the phone, you can get a glimpse, but you can't see what's deleted and hiding below the surface. We need a forensic acquisition to do that. We can tell if it was just soft deleted, so like sitting in a trash can, or a hard delete. So if you empty your trash on your phone and then you go and throw it into a dumpster and the trash is taken away, there is a log that tracks everything. Also with timestamps on when that activity occurred.
Okay, I need that broken down in regular people talk. We're not all experts. Could you say that so everybody can understand?
Yeah. So let's say Nolan had an iPhone. He could take pictures without cell service at all. Cell service and Wi-Fi do not matter. He could even post them to Instagram or to Snapchat, and they'll sit in a temporary directory until he has service. Sometimes that fails, but we still see that activity when we do forensics. If you delete a picture, Nancy, it sits in a recycle bin on your iPhone, and you can recover that for about 30 to 40 days as a normal user. If you empty that trash, it's not recoverable, but we doing forensics can still find it.
Okay, so you mean it's not recoverable for me, a layperson, but you can recover it.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure most of us already knew that about how they can recover things even if they're deleted. Okay. Some things you can recover on your own, but some things the police have to do it. So with that all being said, we're about to be out of here, but I want to tell you all that there is another case of a young man who drowned. Okay, he was 13 or 14 years old. His name is Daryl Lowry. So let's go to his story. This is him on the screen, and this is the person that did it, another teenager. Okay, so this is just becoming too common around here. This is all becoming too common. And here's the thing. At what point do these people stop trying to convince us that it isn't about race? I mean, quite frankly, it's always the black folk that don't return home, not the white ones. So please, it absolutely is about race. That's just a given. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to a couple of reports on this because I thought this was very interesting. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. And I will be back later for anyone wondering. Okay, I'll be back later, sometime between 4 and 6. Hold on.
Emily, thanks. Tonight we are continuing waiting on answers after a teen was killed on the lake in Modoc, South Carolina. So far, 2 teens have been arrested. A 17-year-old accused of stabbing, then forcefully drowning the 13-year-old victim. This is Landon Moore. SLED tells us he and a 16-year-old, along with 13-year-old Daryl Lowry, got into a fight. Investigators believe Lowry was stabbed, then held underwater until he died. Tonight, your Liz Owens working to get the details about what happened as state investigators continue to work the case.
Take a drive down Highway 28 into the southern stretch of McCormick County, where pine trees crowd the roadway and lake homes hug the coves of Clarks Hill Lake. This is Modoc Shores, an established, highly desirable lakefront community just off the highway, where lake life is the selling point and where the unthinkable unfolded. On these banks, investigators say 2 teens killed another teen. And what they say happened sounds less like real life and more like words you expect in a horror script, not an arrest warrant. A fight breaks out, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old against a 13-year-old. A knife comes out, the younger teen is stabbed, and then investigators say the 2 older teens held Daryl Lowry underwater until he stopped breathing. The McCormick County Sheriff Office asked the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, to take the lead, citing a conflict of interest pertaining to the parties involved. The sheriff didn't explain what that conflict was. We emailed for records from social services, the sheriff's office, the coroner, and county emergency services. Those who did respond told us to direct questions and records requests to SLED. SLED in turn referred us to its news release, saying the investigation is active and ongoing. In McCormick County, Liz Owens on your side.
Okay, how nefarious is that? A whole killer, okay, at an early age. Just a devil. And I find it all very interesting. Okay, I find it all very interesting. And this is a common thing. And I want you all to pay attention because there was just a troll in the chat. There was just a troll in the chat talking about blacks can't swim. Well, whether or not we can swim or not doesn't have anything to do with someone trying to drown someone. Okay? Please pay attention. And who's thinking of murder when you're a whole teenager? Like, make that make sense. Here's another report. Let's go to this last one. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. And then someone in the chat told us not to think like slaves, because if you think like slaves, you'll always be a slave or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they said, but to that I'll say this. I'm sure, beloved, we don't think like slaves. And no matter how we think, the fact of the matter is, beloved, and this country, they have a whole system of wanton supremacy that you may call white supremacy. Okay, that's what some people call it. Okay, and under that system, the laws and the judicial system work in the favor and at the behest of a certain group of people and not so much for others. So no matter how you think and view yourself, that's just what it is. Because I hate when black folk try to tell other black folk, oh, stop thinking like a victim because you'll always be a victim. Whether we think like victims or not, we are victims, okay? We're prisoners of war in this nefarious country at the end of the day. All the heinous things that have been done upon us and we've not been compensated ever, that makes us victims. And at the end of the day, we're still victims of hate. That's why you keep seeing black people swinging from trees as strange fruit. That's why you see black people going off with their white friends or alleged friends. And then at the end of the day, they turn up deceased. Okay? And so that's just what it is. Now, with that all being said, D Major says a Nancy Queen episode would be one for the books. All right. Thank you, beloved. I don't know if I could stomach it, but I could try. All right. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Let's go to this last report.
A 17-year-old has been charged with murder after another teen's body was found near a dock in Modoc Shores. That victim has been identified as Daryl Lowry, just 13 years old. Arrest warrants say 17-year-old Landon Moore and a 16-year-old got into a fight with Lowry at the boat dock. That warrant says Moore held Lowry underwater, causing him to drown. The 16-year-old was taken to DJJ. No word yet on their charges. Now, the sheriff's office addressed violent crime in that county. He released a statement saying, quote, "We are extremely grateful that we live and work in a community where violent crime is not the regular occurrence. But with that being said, no place is exempt from these types of incidents, and we must remain diligent in our efforts to keep McCormick County a safe place to live, work, and raise our families," end quote. The state attorney general's office will prosecute this case.
Okay, as they should, and they should charge him as an adult. Okay, who's doing all of that as a whole teenager? Just a whole thug. But you won't see him on the news depicted as one. Please pay attention. But he's clearly a whole thug, okay? Taking someone out there, you get into a fight, and then you pull out a knife and not only stab them, then you hold them underwater. Okay, that's premeditated murder. But I bet you he won't get the same sentence that Carmelo got or anywhere near it. Okay, they're going to plead it down. I guarantee you they're going to probably lessen his charges to something like criminally negligent homicide, not first-degree murder, which is clearly what it is. Okay? It's something about holding your own people accountable that they just can't seem to do. Okay, they just can't seem to do that. Now, with that all being said, let's go to this video of this guy that says an officer told him that he used to hunt people. And I absolutely believe it because we've heard these stories before. That's why I've told you all on numerous occasions that the movie Surviving the Game with Ice-T was absolutely, it may as well have been a documentary.
So y'all, I'm talking with the cop and he was saying, well, first he was talking to his partner. He was like, I need some hollow points. And I looked over at him and he was like, yeah, I need some hollow points. I was like, nah, man, you don't need no hollow points. Let them live. Let them live. And he was like, nah, what I'm talking about is for bear hunting. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, a hollow point to put a hole in somebody. And he was like, yeah, I do a lot of exotic hunting. And I was like, okay, what else you hunt? He was like, I used to hunt people. And I was like, I thought he was joking at first, but the whole time he is not smiling. He was like, yeah, I used to hunt people. He was like, we let them loose. And I think he said 1,000 acres, 1,000-acre field or whatever, give them 24 hours and go find them, go hunt them down. And he was like, what you got to understand is what's legal and what's law is not the same thing. He was like, you got to go do your research on that. And I, pushed the conversation past that. But this is a cop telling me this. I was like, and he was not playing at all. And he was like, do you know where you live? I was like, yeah, we in Texas, we in America. He was like, no, this is Morocco. America's the corporation. So he was like, what's legal and what's law is two different things. You technically, you ain't in America. America's just a corporation. And he was like, you need to go do your research on that too. And I was telling him how I was attacked by a cop on Juneteenth. And he was like, yeah, you could sue him. He was completely in the wrong once I told him and showed him that video. But yeah, he was saying, you know, around here it's very corrupt, very the police is very protected by lawyers, by the hospitals, right? So if they shoot you or whatever and you go to the hospital and die, the hospital gonna say that your cause of death wasn't because you got shot, right? They gonna say whatever they need to protect the cop. And I was like, nah, trust me, I seen that. Like, they was making it hard just for me to make a police report. But man, I was like, man, let me get off here. I could catch a bus from here. That dude was crazy. And
Okay, now you all heard that. He says that's what the cop told him. And I find it all very interesting that he used to hunt people. But here's the thing, how you know that he was not lying and how you know that that cop was so serious is because he said that this is Morocco, okay? The home of the Moors. And then he said that America is a corporation. Now, some of you remember I told you all that back in 2020, that it is, in fact, a corporation. That's why we have a president and a vice president. Okay, the United States of America. Anytime the word "of" is in the title, that's always a corporate entity. Okay, so please pay attention. And so this is all nefarious, and there is, in fact, a difference between law and legal. Now, with that being said, let's get ready to get out of here. Let's get ready to get out of here. Someone says, hold on. Hold on. Let me go through a couple of these comments real quick. Because Erlene says, stop thinking like a slave. The chat said no. Stop repeating what a white man told your simple mind. It's not talking about it. It's remembering your history so you don't be a slave-minded person. Now, Miss Erlene Lemon, I'm not sure who you're talking to. Are you talking to me? Because I may have a whole lot of things, but definitely I don't have a slave mind or a simple mind. Okay, do I need to drop you the link, beloved? Because that sounds like a dig. Now you're obviously new to this channel because I've never seen you in here. But please don't come in here with this kind of energy because this will get your feelings hurt real quick. This is the kind of energy that'll make the queen go in on you for filth. This is all I'm saying is I might be a lot of things, honey, but don't ever call me simple-minded or slave-minded, okay? And what white man told me, I don't think you know my credentials, beloved, but you might want to look into it. Oh, you said not the host. Okay, all right. My apologies. I'll just be paying attention because y'all know that sometimes I keep telling y'all that the text in the chat don't always come over the way they would if someone was saying them aloud, okay? I'm just saying, y'all know people coming here coming for the queen, honey. So you never can be too sure. All right, Erlene, my apologies, beloved, if you were speaking to me. Now, with that all being said, listen. Mel, where have you been? Come here being messy. Mel says Queen will go 0 to 100 on your R's real quick. They better stay in their lane. Okay, well, she wasn't talking to me, thank goodness. Now, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Listen, but here's what I want you all to know in closing, okay? They know that Nolan was murdered, okay? They just know it. They're not going to say it, but we all know they took out that throat, the neck block or the throat block in the front of his neck. So there's no way you could tell if he was strangled. They know exactly what they're doing. And like I said, again, it is normal for them to keep certain parts and everything for further studies. Okay, but at the end of the day, what the hell are you studying when y'all already said it was an accidental drowning? You already have acted as though you didn't have any reason to suspect foul play. But you do suspect foul play. And if so, why hasn't Sheriff Ledbetter come out and said that? Why hasn't Sheriff Ledbetter come out and told us, oh, you know what, my bad. There does appear to be some evidence of foul play. And why hasn't anyone been arrested, detained, questioned? Why hasn't the boat been retrieved? Why haven't their phones been seized? Why haven't they looked into their backgrounds to see what they posted on their phones? Why haven't they also gotten subpoenas for their social media to see what, if anything, they deleted from there? And I'm sure it was plenty. Why haven't they done any of those things? And also another thing I want to say, if they're trying to allege that Nolan was so hammered, so white boy wasted, drunk, what did Katie have to say about that? What does Katie have to say about that? Okay? I have several questions. And also, I saw someone in the chat saying something about the young man who said that he was threatening to tell. I have that video. I saw that video. I don't take him seriously, though. See, I like I said, I don't want to be wasting time with people that's just on a clout chase, because to me, that's what it seemed like. Like he was clout chasing. Like, does he really know something? Is he really going to say anything? Hold on. But, I'll show the video in case some of you all want to see it. But hold on just a second, because I looked at the video last night and this morning, and I said, now, I really think that he's just talking. I don't think he knows anything. And he really didn't say anything about money. He just said they need to do the right thing and threatened to leak information. Now, he may have some information, but I doubt it. People on social media be saying anything, honey. I'm just not so quick to believe what they have to say. Now, I'll go to the video if you all want to see it, but just trust and believe. I don't really think he knows anything. He's probably clout chasing. Okay, he's probably clout chasing like that person who lied and said they had spoken to Nolan's mom. Okay, hold on. An eyewitness posts this warning to friends of Nolan. Autopsy report reveals cause of death is undetermined. See, we have to be careful because there's a whole lot of clout chasers, like I told you all. It's a whole lot of clout chasers out here. Look at Danielle being messy, talking about she wants to see it. I bet you do. Y'all are so messy. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play this, but just to let you all know, and I reiterate that I'm not buying this, okay? I don't believe him. I believe he's clout chasing, because if he really knew anything, sir, why are you showing your whole face? Okay, why are you showing your whole face?
The way I see it is they have one of two choices. One, they can make things right, or two, I leak everything. I leak everything.
Now, what in the hell is he going to leak? Okay, he ain't going to leak anything. He doesn't know anything. Okay, now y'all can fall for it if you want to. At the end of the day, somebody's going to come out for that money, though. I believe somebody's going to come out for that money. And when they do, they won't be doing what he did, which is posting the whole video. They're going to do it quietly. They're going to get in touch with Ben Crump's offices and let them know that they have some information. That's probably how it's going to go down. And I hope that it does, because we need answers, and we need them now. Okay? We need them now. Like J.G. Wentworth. Isn't that his name? We need them now. Seriously. So anyway, with that all been said, listen, I love you all to life. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this day. I will be back probably around 4:30, you guys. Probably around 4:30. Okay, so until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.
Yeah. 4th of July. Fireworks in the sky. But the truth's still buried underground. Royal Oak. Yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me, praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me, freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skins. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the rope. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spill, for the lies they told. Blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts. I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers. I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers. Let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow. Every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves. Put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't buy me through the truth. You can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spill, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts. I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers. I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers. Let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort. I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than this. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up